Imagine waking up, right? You grabbed your backpack, you're heading out to a regular 9 a.m. Computer Networks lecture, and you open your college dorm room door to find 200 screaming people waiting for you.
Oh man, it's just total psychological whiplash.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's not just regular fans either. We are talking about literal marriage brokers waving printed folders of biodata right in your face.
A complete, totally uninvited disruption of reality.
It's wild. And that is exactly the scenario we are unpacking for you today. Welcome to our deep dive into Chapter 5, The Night Everything Changed. We're looking at this deeply fascinating account of an overnight shift.
Right. Tracking a young man, a neparent, who literally goes from being just an ordinary engineering student at IIT Delhi to a cinematic superstar in, what, 24 hours?
Literally overnight. So our mission for you today is to explore the psychology of this sudden fame, right? We're going to get into the physical mechanics of cinematic perfection and the immense emotional weight of this hidden family heritage that comes up later.
It's such a profound case study because, on one hand, you have this sudden introduction to the absolute pinnacle of Bollywood glamour.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you have a 21-year-old kid actively fighting to maintain his grip on his actual identity.
So let's just get straight into the mechanics of that disruption, because the contrast here is electric.
Yeah.
It all starts with the release of the trailer for his film, Yuri.
Right.
And the digital metrics violently cross over into physical reality. Like the trailer clears 50 million views. It's trending in 14 different countries.
There are entire YouTube channels dedicated solely to analyzing his micro-expressions.
Yeah.
Entire channels.
Which is completely insane. But I mean, a human brain can sort of compartmentalize a number on a screen, right? Like 50 million is just a statistic.
Yeah, exactly.
The actual problem is when the internet physically manifests at your front door.
Which is incredibly dangerous for the human nervous system. I mean, we evolved to understand attention in very small tribal groups.
Right.
Our brains literally lack the hardware to process the spatial reality of millions of eyes suddenly turning toward us. So when you transition from digital metrics to a physical mob, the brain registers that level of concentrated attention as an existential threat.
Which totally explains the utter chaos at his IIT Delhi hostel. He tries to navigate the corridor just to go to his lecture, and he is absolutely mobbed.
They had to intervene, right?
Oh yeah, his department head actually has to pull him aside to have a serious talk about, representing IIT Delhi with dignity amidst this total circus. But the detail that really underscores the absurdity of this reality shift is those marriage brokers.
The literal aunties with the folders.
Yes, showing up to a college dorm with printed biodata for a 21-year-old kid, shouting out credentials like, "My daughter is an M.Tech from IIT Madras."
That is just, it's unbelievable.
And meanwhile, hundreds of miles away in his hometown of Chandni Chowk, his family's modest restaurant becomes an overnight tourist attraction.
Oh, right, the table.
Yeah, people are ordering tea just so they can stand near table 4, which is just where you used to sit and study. But let me challenge this for a second.
Go for it.
We hear actors complain about fame all the time, but isn't this exactly what they sign up for? Like, to be known?
Well, there is a huge difference between wanting your work to be recognized and suddenly losing your basic human right to anonymity.
Okay, fair.
In the material we're looking at, Anant's father, Rajesh, offers a brilliant framework for this. He calls it the price of impact.
The price of impact. I like that.
Yeah. When you deliver something that genuinely touches people's hearts, they develop this parasocial craving for proximity. They literally want to physically touch the extraordinary. That's why they go to his dorm.
And why they stand at table 4.
Exactly. The intent from the fans is completely harmless. It's even loving. But functionally, for the person experiencing it, especially someone Anant describes as a natural introvert, it feels like a siege. You no longer control your own environment.
So you have this 21-year-old brain reeling from a physical invasion of his personal space. How does that same overwhelmed brain suddenly process having to stand perfectly still under the flashbulbs of a massive industry premiere?
It's a massive pivot.
Because the timeline here moves directly from the chaotic college campus to the highly orchestrated chaos of the Bollywood red carpet in Juhu.
And that transition is where we really see the physical manifestation of his preparation. I mean, he doesn't show up looking like a deer in the headlights.
No.
He shows up looking like a weapon.
So let's talk about that physical presence. Because he steps out in this midnight blue band gala which is a traditional, sharply tailored Indian suit,
Uh-huh.
and it just completely commands the space.
Right, and he's physically matured dramatically, too.
Yeah, he's now 6'3", having actually grown 2 inches during the shoot. But the photographers, they lose their minds over his physique, and not because he looks like a typical action hero.
It's because he deliberately avoided that typical action hero aesthetic. The standard cinematic physique is usually built on hypertrophy, vanity muscle built in a gym purely to look large on camera. But Anant's physique is a masterclass in functional strength.
So how did he build it?
He built it through years of Kalari, which is this highly demanding ancient Indian martial art combined with advanced yoga, calisthenics, and a strictly enforced vegan diet.
But, I mean, why does that matter to a camera lens, though? Muscle is muscle, isn't it?
Actually, no. Functional muscle completely changes the way a human being moves through space. Kalari trains the stabilizing muscles, the tendons, the core.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it creates a lean, dense musculature designed for endurance and kinetic chain movement. When someone builds their body for purpose rather than just appearance, their posture is totally different.
So they don't have that stiff, inflated walk.
Exactly. You don't see that typical gym bro stiffness.
Which perfectly explains why the photographers at the premiere declare him an anomaly. They actually note that he moves with this natural, fluid military grace, completely devoid of manufactured swagger.
And completely photogenic from every angle.
Right. Left profile, right profile, straight on, looking down. It didn't matter. But here is the moment on the red carpet that really fascinated me.
Oh, the shout from the crowd.
Yes. A journalist yells out, calling him Bollywood's newest heartthrob. And Ant genuinely blushes, like his entire neck flushes red. He awkwardly rubs the back of his head, and that single moment of embarrassment sparks this massive kawaii movement.
Right, the Japanese cute culture obsession.
Yeah, exactly, among young female fans online. But wait, I have to push back here. He's an actor, a brilliant one. Isn't charm, especially on a red carpet, at least partially a calculated performance?
You'd think so, yeah.
Can a guy who looks like that truly be unaware of his effect on a crowd?
It's super tempting to view it cynically, but the camera is incredibly adept at detecting micro-expressions of calculation. What makes an ant so magnetic in that moment, what turns him into this ultimate anti-star, is the total absence of ego. Think about it. His physical training was built entirely for the role of a soldier, not for personal vanity. He is stepping onto that red carpet thinking about the work he put into the film, not the geometry of his jawline.
That makes a lot of sense.
So when someone suddenly objectifies him with the word heartthrob, his internal framing clashes violently with their external framing. The blush is an involuntary physiological response to that clash.
You can't fake a blush.
Exactly. You cannot artificially engineer a true vasodilation response in your neck on cue. The camera captures that pure authenticity, and audiences who are just hypersaturated with curated fake personas immediately latch onto it.
He actually tells the journalist right there, judge the work, not the marketing, which is just an unbelievably grounded thing to say while
Yeah.
flashing a smile that's crashing the internet.
It's so disarming.
So let's move from the marketing into the actual work. We leave the red carpet and move inside the theater for the premiere. And the external physical perfection we just talked about is matched by an incredibly sophisticated technical environment inside.
The screening dynamics at this Juhu premiere are absolutely essential to the impact of the film. I mean, they didn't just play the movie, they engineered an entire environment.
They utilized custom visual filters, and Anant had actively championed the use of Dolby Atmos sound engineering for the screening.
Which is huge.
And the payoff is immediate, especially during the famous "How's the Josh" sequence. Now keep in mind, the audience in this theater consists of elite, deeply jaded industry veterans.
Right. Critics, legendary directors, rival producers.
Yeah, the toughest crowd possible. Yet the interactive design of the sequence is so compelling that this room full of hardened professionals instinctively shouts back, "Hi, sir!" right in the middle of the screening.
Which is wild. To get an industry crowd to break their professional decorum and participate like a midnight opening night audience, that is almost unheard of.
It really is.
It requires a flawless synchronization of pacing, performance, and sensory manipulation.
But the moment that actually stops hearts in the room happens during the climax. There is this visceral hand-to-hand combat sequence. Vihan, Anant's character, is locked in this brutal fight, and his shirt is torn, suddenly revealing that carved, functional torso we were just discussing.
The gasp.
The entire theater actually gasps. Literally.
Yeah.
But what blew my mind is the immediate transition right after that.
It's such a bold cinematic choice.
It is. The violent combat gives way instantly to a moment of devastating beauty. The smoke clears, sunlight breaks through, Anant folds his hands in a traditional namaste, and he delivers this grounded, completely unembellished whisper, Har Har Mahadev and Bharat Mata Ki Jai.
And the room just erupts.
A 5-minute standing ovation. And the legendary director Vishal Bhardwaj tracks him down just to say he wasn't acting, he was channeling truth. But I'm stuck on that transition.
It's a tough one to pull off.
It's like walking out of a heavy metal concert directly into a silent monastery. How does a filmmaker balance such a massive physical spectacle with a quiet spiritual whisper without giving the audience absolute whiplash?
It all goes back to the specific mechanics of that Dolby Atmos sound design we mentioned earlier.
Oh, really?
Yeah, spatial audio doesn't just make things loud. It allows for the complete manipulation of acoustic space. During the combat, the audience's nervous systems are just flooded with adrenaline from the low-frequency, room-shaking bass.
Okay, yeah.
So when you abruptly cut that out, you create an acoustic vacuum. The human brain instantly seeks a new focal point to understand the sudden silence.
Oh, wow.
By dropping the audio down to a highly sensitive, intimate whisper, the sound design literally forces the audience to physically lean in.
So the technology creates the space, but, the actor still has to stick the landing, right?
Precisely. If Anant had delivered those lines with theatrical bravado or, dramatic anger, it would have felt like cheap nationalism.
Yeah, would have ruined it.
But by stripping away all embellishment and delivering it as a quiet, internal prayer, he grounds all that physical violence in spiritual devotion. The lack of performance is the performance. It proves to the audience that his physical strength is entirely subservient to a higher purpose.
Okay, so picture Anant in this moment. He is sitting in the dark, tears streaming down his face, absorbing a 5-minute standing ovation from the absolute titans of Indian cinema. He is sitting at the absolute summit of his artistic life.
The peak.
And right at that exact second, the narrative drops a monumental bombshell in the theater lobby that entirely recontextualizes his talent.
This lobby encounter completely shifts the axis of the story. It goes from a personal triumph to a profound generational inheritance.
Right, so Anant walks into the lobby with his father, Rajesh, and they are immediately approached by 3 legends of the National School of Drama, the NSD, Anupam Kher, Satish Kaushik, and Pankaj Kapoor.
Heavy hitters.
And these titans don't just walk up to congratulate Anant, they walk up and recognize his father.
They expose a secret that Rajesh had meticulously buried for decades.
Yeah. Rajesh is publicly revealed right in front of a completely stunned Anant as the legendary 1990 NSD gold medalist for his performance in a play called Tughlaq.
Which is just, it's mind-blowing.
Anupam Kher explains to Anant that his father wasn't just a student. He was a prodigy. He was widely considered the future of Indian theater. But he vanished into obscurity to prioritize providing for his family. He gave it all up.
Try to imagine the emotional weight of that realization. You are 21 years old, you have just touched the sky, and you suddenly discover that your father built the launch pad out of his own abandoned dreams.
It fundamentally changes how you view your own success. It's like discovering the house you proudly built yourself is actually sitting on a gold mine your father secretly buried for you to find.
That's a great way to put it.
Anant is reeling, telling Anupam Kher how he spent hours studying classic performances to understand the craft of transformation. And Anupam Kher essentially looks at him and says, "Did you know the gold standard we all looked up to was the man sitting at your dinner table?"
Just chills.
But the most beautiful part of this is the private conversation Anupam Kher has with Rajesh afterward. He urges his old friend not to view this secret as a heavy burden on his son, but as a rich heritage. He tells Rajesh, "Your dreams aren't unfulfilled, they're transformed."
That framing is psychologically crucial.
Why is that?
Because the danger in a sacrifice of that magnitude is guilt. The child can feel totally crushed by the debt of what the parent gave up. By reframing it as a transformation, it becomes an empowerment.
But it makes me wonder about the nature of Anant's talent,
Yeah.
With a revelation like this, do we conclude that cinematic genius is just genetically inherited, or is it the unconscious byproduct of growing up in the orbit of a master actor?
It is almost certainly a synthesis, but the environment is the dominant factor here. Rajesh's artistic instincts, his profound understanding of human truth and discipline, they didn't evaporate when he left the stage.
Right, they had to go somewhere.
They simply found a new medium, which is parenting. He was embedding lessons about dedication, humility, and the reverence for craft into Anant's upbringing long before a camera ever rolled.
Wow.
Rajesh passed down a complete artistic value system without ever claiming the credit for it. The genius Anant displayed on screen wasn't just his, it was the delayed harvest of his father's unseen labor.
The delayed harvest. That is a beautiful way to put it. And think about what N has to do next. In the span of a few hours, he has endured a digital explosion, physical mobs, a 5-minute standing ovation, and the reality-shattering truth about his father's hidden genius.
It's too much for one day.
And with all of that swirling in his head, he has to immediately walk out and face a massive press conference.
Which is really the ultimate test of whether that grounded value system his father instilled actually holds up under pressure.
And his demeanor is completely flawless. The journalists are firing questions from every angle. They are pushing the viral fame, the looks, the massive industry buzz, and then actively, almost systematically, blocks every single attempt to label him a heartthrob.
He refuses the pedestal.
He totally deflects the praise away from himself and points it directly at his director, Aditya Dar, and his co-stars.
He is deliberately dismantling the ego-driven narrative the press wants to build.
Exactly. And then he reveals something astonishing. He actually refused payment for the role.
0 rupees.
Yeah, he tells the press he took 0 rupees because he needed the experience to remain entirely transformational rather than transactional. He gives the ultimate credit for the film's success to Captain Vikram Thakur and the real-life soldiers the film is honoring.
Incredible.
And then comes the absolute mic drop moment of the night. A journalist asks him, "So, what is your immediate next plan?" And Anant casually leans into the microphone and states that he is heading back to his campus to study for his final engineering exams.
It is the perfect narrative bookend.
It's brilliant, but I have to ask, is it also a little bit driven by fear? Like, I just delivered the performance of the decade, the biggest directors in the country are weeping, but I better go take my computer networks exam on Monday. Is this extreme grounding actually just a psychological defense mechanism? Is he terrified that the fame is temporary and he needs a backup plan?
Well, while it's natural to assume it's a fallback plan, if we look at the psychological framework we've discussed, it operates much more as an anchor than a parachute.
Okay, an anchor.
Yeah, because fame is an incredibly disorienting external force. It strips away your locus of control. The world decides you are suddenly important, and they dictate where you go and how you are perceived.
That makes sense.
By immediately returning to a rigorous, highly structured, pre-existing routine like an engineering degree, Anant is fiercely reclaiming his internal locus of control. The fame happened to him, but he is deciding what he does with his Tuesday.
Wow, yeah.
By refusing the money and demanding to finish his exams, he proves to himself and the world that the core identity of the student was never compromised by the glare of the superstar.
He didn't let the noise rewrite his reality. So let's bring all of these threads together for you listening. We started this deep dive in a chaotic college corridor, watching a young man's nervous system try to process the physical invasion of viral fame.
From the dorm to the red carpet.
Right, where he weaponized an authentic, functional humility to completely disarm a cynical media machine. We sat in a theater and explored how acoustic vacuums and unembellished spiritual truth commanded a room of legends.
We witnessed the unearthing of a father's decades-old sacrifice.
And finally, we watched a newly minted superstar voluntarily step off the pedestal to go sit in a lecture hall.
It really serves as the masterclass in how to maintain your own center of gravity when the world around you is spinning totally out of control.
And that is the core takeaway for all of us, isn't it? Very few of us will ever experience 50 million YouTube views overnight.
Yeah.
But we all face sudden, jarring shifts in our reality. A massive career change, an unexpected loss, or even uncovering hidden depths in our own family histories. The question is, how do we keep our feet on the ground when the environment around us changes overnight? Do we let the sudden attention or the sudden pressure rewrite who we are, or do we find a way to navigate that murky landscape?
You survive by finding anchors. Whether that anchor is a strict daily routine, a deeply ingrained value system, or the enduring legacy of the people who built the foundation you stand on.
Which leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to ponder today. We talked about Rajesh's immense silent sacrifice, stepping away from the stage just when he was hailed as the future of theater.
Right.
If Rajesh had made a different choice. Wait, let me rephrase that. If Rajesh had actually pursued the spotlight and become a massive star himself, would Anant have ever possessed the exact, highly specific humility required to deliver this monumental performance?
That is a great question.
Is it possible that our own greatest successes, the moments we finally get to stand in the light, are actually built entirely on the unseen, uncredited sacrifices of the generations that chose to stand in the shadows before us?
That is a profoundly deep question to walk away with.
Because sometimes, the clearest picture we get of who we are doesn't come from looking at our own reflections. Sometimes we have to look closely at the deep, beautiful shadows of where we came from. Until next time, keep diving deep.